I'm John, and I'm here to talk about a favorite topic that all of us have been hearing for the last couple of years. I'm here to talk about the future of work. The term future of work has been doing the rounds for the last 5 or 6 years now, mostly in the HR and the people development circles. However, with the COVID pandemic last year, this term has now gone mainstream. Today, we hear CEOs of Fortune 500 organizations talking a lot about the future of work. Let me take you through a small journey, not only about the future of work, but also about how work has been seen through the ages. So, if you ask anyone, what do you mean by work? If you are an engineer, you'll hear engineers say work is equal to force into distance. However, the term work has had different connotations over several centuries. We can see people driving to work, people going to the supermarket, people taking their kids. Are all these work? Let's look at work across history. I'm going to take you through a perspective of different civilizations. In the Greek civilization, work was a three-tiered division. Manual work was considered very lowly, and then you had people who are more intellectual, and then you had people who are directly connected to the gods. In the Roman civilization, which came just after Greeks, they had a very similar construct for work. However, the big difference between the Roman civilization and the Greek civilizations was simply that the Romans gave manual work a lot of respectability. Coming to the Christian era, you see that work takes on a dual character. Work is no longer about having a good livelihood, but work also is a service to God. Work is, in fact, also seen as something that is a sacrifice and a punishment that one does as one stays on the earth until one departs for one's heavenly abode. Coming closer to home, with India, the Aryans brought to the Indian subcontinent a four-tiered system, and I'm sure we are all very familiar with this system. We had the Indian work system, which really talked about the Vaishyas, the Shudras, the Brahmins, and the Kshatriyas. This was a good way of work when it came to looking at different roles in society being fulfilled by different people. However, there was also a downside to it, right? As we all are aware, the caste system, which originally started off to help divide society into different forms of work, eventually ended up being very hierarchical and also being passed on from generation to generation. And soon you saw people being locked into roles and jobs that they were born into, right? And not necessarily based on their talent or capability. Coming closer to the current generation, right? We've all heard about the fourth industrial revolution. What is the fourth industrial revolution? Well, before we answer that question, let's first answer what is the first industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution was when the steam engine was created. In this age, work was not tied anymore to religion, community, your birth, and where you were born, but it became a factor of demand and supply. This was when the whole aspect of capitalism first started, and the whole purpose of work started becoming to create and accumulate capital. What about the second industrial revolution? The second industrial revolution came with the assembly line when Henry Ford decided to make any kind of car as long as it was black. So this resulted in a big change in productivity. You soon found that people started having very specialized roles. And within these roles, you would see that people develop very specialized skill sets, and the overall productivity of labor went up a lot. What about the third industrial revolution? The third industrial revolution happened in the 1950s with the advent of microprocessors and microcomputers. This was an age where we finally saw that work was no longer being done or tied to your human capital availability, but you could also use machines to not only do manual work, but you could now use machines to do some bit of thinking and processing for us. What about the fourth industrial revolution? The fourth industrial revolution has been building on the third. It's a revolution that has been occurring for the last 25 years. And the biggest characteristic of the fourth industrial revolution is that of blurring the lines between physical, digital, and biological fears. Imagine a future where human beings have not only use intelligence, which is not human but artificial, but human beings literally embed that artificial intelligence into them through the use of bionics. That is where the fourth industrial revolution is headed to. Now, we've been talking about machines taking over the world for years. Let me tell you, this thought is not new, right? I'm showing you a paper clip from 1928 where the heading of the article says machines as ministers to men and machines making men idle, right? So the concern about machines taking over the role of human beings in work is not new. It's been there for almost a century. However, today, for the first time in human history, we are now going to see technology that may become better with age instead of getting obsolete, right? So the whole aspect of machine learning, artificial intelligence is about how do you learn from what you're seeing in front of you, how do you iterate, and how do you become better. Historically, this has been a skill that only human beings had, and we are now figuring out how technology can do the same thing. How is the future of work shaping up, and what is the implication of work on the modern day workforce? What I'm showing you here is a very, very popular way of looking at the future of work, being used by a lot of consulting companies and thought leaders in today's world. There are three elements to the future of work. One, what work? Two, who is doing the work? And three, where are they doing it from? What work is about how you can automate work using robotics, AI, machine learning, blockchain. A lot of research has gone into that space, and there's been a huge amount of buzz on what work can be changed. There's equally been a lot of buzz around the workforce. Who is doing the work? Is it a machine? Is it a human being? Is it someone who is full-time on our roles? Is it a managed service? Is it a gig worker? There has been a lot of conversation and a lot of configuration around this aspect. The third element of where the work is being done really came into forte last year. If you look at this, you can see that pre-pandemic, most of the conversation around the future of work was around the kind of work that people are looking at, followed by the workplace, followed by the workforce. Now, during the pandemic, the maximum conversation started shifting to where the work is being done, the workplace. People started doing a lot more work from home, and we started seeing shifts that were otherwise never imagined. No one expected the kind of productivity that people could have when they were working remotely or working from home. Now, this conversation, once the pandemic is settling down, is now shifting towards the workforce, right? People have learned to work remotely, and because they've learned to work remotely and in an efficient manner, the conversation is now moving from the work and the workplace to that of the workforce. Companies are coming up with new models for how do they engage and have workforce within them in a very wide variety of workforce models. So how does this impact the HR function? Before, the past organization frameworks, I'm just giving an example over here, used to look something like this. So you had strategy, you had business process, you had people behavior, you had technology, organization, and people. And there was a much more structured approach of designing work. Today, you look at what we call the future of work organization, right? Which is a far more agile and shape-shifting kind of an organization. You can see there's a workforce ecosystem in the middle. There's a lot of collaboration that you do, not only with people internal to your organization, but also with a wide variety of external partners. And then you have technology, which has become extremely important. So a lot of organizations which used to not have any bit of technology have now been forced to go digital. And finally, all this has to enable the market to work, where the organization's products and services reach customers. So this is how future organizations look like today. What is the impact of this for HR? You see that the moment organizations have to be so competitive, the moment they have to be shape-shifting and agile and collaborative, the role of HR leadership in the organization goes up multifold. The HR leadership now has to ensure that a collaborative and agile workforce ecosystem comes alive and helps contribute to business value. And how does HR enable this? There's a lot of work that HR has to do today to ensure that the workforce is enabled to handle a very agile and collaborative response to the ecosystem. There is a need to imagine a lot of skills for the future. Over the last 5-6 years, areas like critical thinking, creativity and innovation, collaboration, problem solving have really risen up to the top of the spectrum in terms of what skills people really need. What we are doing at nParadigm is we've been building a digital platform for future of work readiness. It's going to be a 3-layered AI-powered digital solution. There are 3 aspects to it. One is a future of work role profile for key roles in critical industries. The second element is based on those role profiles, being able to do quick and very easy readiness assessments to assess the level of your workforce for the future of work readiness. And the third element includes future of work readiness learning pathways. So these pathways have been built to help people move from where they are currently assessed as in the future of work readiness course to the ideal kind of profile that is required for the future of work. nParadigm provides a learning ecosystem to help organizations drive future of work readiness. We try and keep the human element at the center. So while we use a lot of digital platforms and digital technology, we do believe that a lot of learning is really driven with the human element at the center. We have a learning ecosystems comprising of simulations and microlearning tools, which are the core of what we offer, and equally supported by workshops, coaching, and live projects that we help organizations do. If you want to help us build platforms for the future of work, please reach out to us. Thank you.